Hi, and welcome to Talks with Shay. So today, I would like to open with reading from Isaiah 53 and verse 3. And it says, He is despised and rejected of men, a man of sorrows, and acquainted with grief. And we hid as it were our faces from him. He was despised, and we esteemed him not. So for part 2 of Facing Your Fears today, I would like to talk about rejection. Rejection is a fear that we have to face. When we think of different times that we've been rejected in our lives, it does cause us to have fear for asking people to do things for us because we don't want to get a no. When I think of many different things that people we can be rejected from, it can be our parents, our friends, co-workers, even God. Sometimes we feel rejected from God when God says no. Our parents, when we think of being rejected from our parents, so many times we grow up and our life is not the way that we would have wanted to be as children. Whether we grew up being raised by both parents or a single parent, by grandparents, another family member, foster care system, or different things like that. Whatever way we grew up, sometimes our parents or that person that raised us can make us feel a lot of rejection. When we think of friends, our friends sometimes can reject us as well. We depend on them to do different things and they let us down sometimes. They tell us no sometimes, and sometimes we need a no. But we get rejected by them. Co-workers, God himself. Anytime God says no, we praying, asking, believing, having faith for something, and for God to sometimes say no. But I can remember one time my pastor told me, your daddy doesn't always tell his daughter yes. But it was how I dealt with that no that mattered. That taught me something in that time, in that season of my life. And I had to realize, we expect God to always say yes to the things that we want. But at the end of the day, guess what? It's not always about us. And God shields us and protects us. And so sometimes those no's, and we feel rejected by them, needed to be a no. Over the past couple of years, I tell people sometimes, I've never had God tell me no so many times for different things that I went through in the last couple of years of my life. And I felt like everything I prayed and asked and believed God for was a no. And I'm like, man, it can be so discouraging. But I remember always praying and asking God to shield me and protect me from myself. Because sometimes we make the wrong decisions. And even sometimes God will give us a yes when he really wanted to give us a no. And then we find ourselves in situations that we wished and never understood how we ever got there. Growing up, my grandmother raised me, as I've said before. But for those that are just listening in for maybe the first time, she raised me at a very young age. I went live with her when I was in the 5th grade. And so, it was a sense of rejection that I felt towards my parents, and it wasn't their choice to send me there. It was a choice that I wanted to go live with her for my own personal different reasons. And so my dad and mom wasn't together, and my mom had remarried, dad had remarried or whatever. And so I just felt I was that spoiled, and because of different things that was going on in my life at that time, that I wanted to live with my grandmother. So being rejected sometimes, it was hard. We expect our parents to do certain things for us sometimes, and they may not do them. And I'm not just speaking just in reference to myself. I'm just hypothetically speaking in general. We expect them to maybe do certain things for us. And then even as adults, people that have children might depend on their parents to help them out, and parents don't. And so you feel rejected, and it's just, rejection is a part of life. That job that you wanted to apply for a promotion at your job, too afraid to apply for it because you felt you would be rejected and not get the job. How many times have we been on job interviews and been rejected How frustrating can that be? Very. I know, speaking for myself, I'm 42 years old and I've had about over like 23 jobs in my whole life. And so that's a good thing though, right? I wasn't rejected. I was accepted for a lot of those jobs. But there were interviews, and thankfully I do pretty well, I guess I would say, on job interviews. I think I can count maybe 2 or 3 jobs that I actually interviewed for in my whole life that I never got. But even then, there was sometimes, we deal with rejection. People may not want to fill out a job application or because they feel like, I'm going to be rejected, I'm not going to get it, don't want to apply for the promotion. But how do you know you're not going to get it if you never try? Rejection is a part of life. But we have to turn our perspective on rejection and look at it as God shielding us from something, and He has something greater in store for us. If we could just turn our perspective from always wanting to be negative about the no's that we do get and look at the yeses. Majority of the time, we get more yeses than we get no's. But it's so hard for us to even want to focus on the positive when we're in the midst of the no's. When I think of even different job promotions that could have come my way, I didn't apply for certain things because I felt like they're not going to pick me. A lot of times, dealing on jobs is usually like they pick the person. They are like, a lot of times, let's be honest, when jobs have promotions and things like that, they already know majority of the time who they're going to hire. I can say that honestly, because through all the 20-something jobs that I went through and seen promotions that come from within, majority of the time, people already know who they're going to place in that position. But even though they know that, it doesn't mean that we can't apply. Because for some reason, what if those tables turn, and God decides to give you a yes and give you favor? If we never push through the rejection, the fear of being rejected, how can we really go forward and reach for our dreams? No dreams come just overnight. There's doors that's gonna close before they start opening. But we have to realize no matter what it is, we have to push through that and realize that, rejection is a part of life. And no matter what I'm being rejected by or from who or anything like that, we have to try again. Because we're not going to always be rejected. Rejection builds character within ourselves, because the no's that we do get help us to realize and be more thankful for the yeses. And so we have to learn that no matter what rejections that I get in my life, and no matter what doors may close in my life, doors still will open. Doors will not always close. Doors will open again. Jesus Christ Himself walked this earth and people rejected Him. He's the only perfect one that have ever walked the face of this earth, and the only perfect one forever. And people still, as of today, still reject Him. They reject His truth in His word. They reject Him. But then when He tells us no, we suck in our finger. Get it together. And I'm speaking to myself, because sometimes I be like, woe is me. When a door closes that God closes. But I get up and I start thanking Him for it, because I pray for Him to shield me from my own self, from making my wrong decisions. And I hope that you can start doing that for yourself. Because at the end of the day, you guys, honestly, as long as we're going to live, we're going to be rejected. Sometimes I think about inviting people to church. I'm like, I don't want to invite them. They might say no, or offer my Bible study. They might say no, but it's like, then God will prick my heart and say, they're not rejecting you, they're rejecting me, meaning Him. And so even though we get no's sometimes, we have to realize rejection is part of life. And we have to push through the fear of being afraid to ask things. I'm guilty of that. I may need help with certain things, and I'm like, I don't want the help because I'm not going to ask, because what if they say no? And sometimes I'm so sensitive and very soft-hearted, cry for almost anything, okay? So it's like, I'm just, you know what? I'm just not going to ask, because I'd rather not ask than ask and get a no. How many of us can honestly say we're guilty for doing that? Too afraid to ask for help, or reach out for someone to help us in any area of our lives because we're afraid of them telling us no. And no's never feel good. How many of us, somebody tell us no, and we're like, yeah, yes, they told me no. Probably none of us. But we can change our perspective, and we might not be happy per se about the no's, but sometimes we have to learn. Let me change that. Not sometimes, all the time. We need to learn to realize, thank God for the no's, because behind those no's will come a yes. And we just have to hold on. And we need to change our perspective, as I said, to not always looking at it as it being the end of the world when a no is gifted to us, and accept it for what it is. I remember in the book of Job, when God took everything from Job, and he said, what am I going to just, and I'm paraphrasing, but it's like he said, what, I'm going to just thank him just for all the blessings and not the things that he takes away. And it's like he was saying, am I supposed to only praise him and be happy with God because of the good things that he giveth and he taketh away? So those things that God took away from Job, he had to learn to thank God anyhow. And that's what we have to push through and realize, you know what? It might be no today, but what about tomorrow? It might be a yes. It might be no right now for that job, but it means that God has something better in store for you. It might be no today that your family members refusing to help you, but God may put a friend in your path that'll go that extra mile to be able to help you. It might be a no today that God has said for something that you're desiring to do, but tomorrow he may open up a greater door for you. And you know what? When I think of silver and gold, silver is cheaper than gold. I'd rather get a no 1,000,000 times for the silver and wait on God's yes for the gold. And so whatever you're going through today, I hope that you can change your perspective and face your fear of rejection and realizing that, you know what, I may be rejected today, but I'm not going to always be rejected. No's are temporary, but your yes will follow. And it's up to you to just realize that I'm going to be okay and learn to thank God, like they say, hallelujah anyhow, because his no's is his protection. So, as always, I want to thank you for listening in again today. If you haven't already, check out my website at www.talkswithshay.org. You can reach me through email at talkswithshay@gmail.com. Find me on YouTube and subscribe to the videos there at Talks with Shay. And then, of course, Facebook. Invite your friends, share my page, like my page, and guess what? Continue listening to the Talks with Shay. And for all my supporters that's out there today, I thank you. I thank you for every person that have shared these videos to reach more people and to encourage people in one way or another. And until next time with Talks with Shay, Shay's out, and y'all be blessed.